Welcome to Deck Analysis and Testing. Today we have a look at GRAYDLE. GRAYDLE are aqua monsters that are basically aliens trying to steal monsters. Released all the way back in Judgment Force, one of the best boxes in dueling's history, the deck is known for doing nothing and being unplayable. The only thing that saw some play was the Synchro Monster and other better decks that play Aqua Tuners. Until 4.5 years later, yes, Judgment Force was in early 2020, and it's 2024 now. We finally got the other monsters that actually do what a deck is supposed to do, but let's just say that the cards are a bit outdated for today's meta, about 4.5 years too late. But hey, at least it's cheap and very funny. Let's have a look at the cards. First, we have Kaijus, 2 copies of Jizukuru, and 3 copies of the free-to-obtain Thunder King. The machine one is from the same box as the GRAYDLE, so you will get them when you try to get the GRAYDLE stuff as well, and this card is, well, free to obtain. And these Kaijus are really good because they have a lot of attack, and can get rid of your opponent's monsters that have a good quick effects. You can just tribute them away, give them a huge monster, and just get it back using any of your GRAYDLEs to steal it to your side of the field. Next are the GRAYDLEs, 3 copies of GRAYDLE Slime Jr. This card can revive a GRAYDLE on summon, and also special summon another GRAYDLE from your hand if you have another one in hand. And also, if it's destroyed by battle, you can just tag out into another GRAYDLE, which is pretty nice. It's basically a searcher. We have 3 copies of GRAYDLE Cobra. All of the GRAYDLEs have the same effect, that when it is destroyed by battle, except for the junior, which summons from deck. All of the other GRAYDLEs, when destroyed by battle or some other form of destruction, they will trigger and steal an opponent's monster by equipping itself to that monster. And usually for cards like this, when the equip card gets destroyed, they get the monster back. But for GRAYDLEs, they will just pop the monster that it is equipped to. So they can't just, pop it with something like an MST and get their monster back. They will just have that monster destroyed. So Cobra can also trigger by trap destruction, Alligator can also trigger by spell destruction, and Eagle can trigger by a monster effect destruction as well. And you can see which type of other effect will trigger by looking at their color, because their color corresponds to the card type that will also trigger their steal effect. So obviously the monster one is the best one because that is the one that will happen the most often, but we're just playing the other ones as well because they all trigger by battle, which is the main way you will be proccing their steal effects. And Eagle also has the highest attack, which is also nice. Sometimes your opponent just doesn't have enough monsters for you to steal. You can just attack with your Eagle with a as a 1500 attack monster, and that can sometimes be the missing amount of damage for you to be dealing lethal. And Alligator is probably the worst one. And finally, we have 3 copies of Arrival Rivals. Don't ask me what's happening in the image. And this basically gives you a free normal summon. So you just get 1 normal summon once per turn, usually. But with the quick play spell, you can summon another GRAYDLE from your hand, so you can steal 2 monsters in a single turn instead of only just 1. For the extra deck, we have a bunch of random stuff, but 3 copies of GRAYDLE Dragon is probably the most important one. It is a level 8 synchro that needs a Aqua type tuner plus 1 or more non-tuners. And on summon, it targets cards on your opponent's side up to the amount of water monsters used for the synchro summon, and destroy them. And if this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target 1 other water monster in your graveyard and special summon it. This card is very strong, and usually it gets to pop 3 cards because GRAYDLE Slime Jr. is a level 2, and then it summons 2 other level 3 non-tuner GRAYDLEs, so that will be 3 materials, which allows you to pop 3 cards. But realistically, you don't go into this card very often because, well, this requires a lot of resources, and usually you much rather just crash into your opponent's monsters and just steal their monsters and attack your opponent with those monsters instead of, making the synchro. And then we also have a bunch of other link monsters that we will basically never make. For the skill, we're playing a really old one. Holy god, you take no battle damage during your turn. So what this allows us to do is to attack your opponent's monsters that have a higher attack than your GRAYDLEs, to crash into them, destroy your own monsters by battle, and then steal them. And this skill is very important so that you just don't die because your GRAYDLes don't have a lot of attack, especially GRAYDLE Slime Jr., which has a 0. And as always, let's have a look at the expensive version. Well, this deck is not very expensive in general because of how all the GRAYDLE monsters are low rarity. All the new ones are just normals, and GRAYDLE Slime Jr. is a rare, so they're all very cheap. But what we can play instead of, kaijus and arrival rivals are some other cards that deal with our opponent's stuff and other ways to spam monsters on our field. We're playing Forbidden Chalice in the expensive version, and you can technically play this in the cheap version as well because this card is pretty cheap, to be fair, because it is available from box chips. But Forbidden Chalice just has the flexibility of being able to use it during your opponent's turn if you go first as well. This deck is a lot better going second when you can have when your opponent has stuff for you to crash into, but when you go first, you will pretty much only just set one monster and pass. And sometimes your opponent might have a monster effect that gets rid of your set monster without destroying it. So Forbidden Chalice will be able to prevent that, to negate effects such as like Dingirsu or Nightmare Unicorn that can get rid of a monster without destroying it, and forcing your opponent to attack over it to get rid of your monster, and that will trigger your monster's effect to steal one of your opponent's monsters. For our traps, we're playing 3 copies of Back to the Front and 3 copies of Oasis of Dragon Souls. They basically do the exact same thing. It is to revive your monsters in defense position. So even if you only have one GRAYDLE on field, you will still get multiple activations of the steal effect just by reviving the GRAYDLes over and over again. And it is especially good when you revive GRAYDLE Slime Jr. because for the other GRAYDLes, they equip themselves to your opponent's monster, and that monster will have to go to the graveyard before you can revive them again. But for GRAYDLE Slime Jr., it dies and then attacks out into another GRAYDLE, so it itself goes to the graveyard, which means there is a target for you to revive. But even without GRAYDLE Slime Jr., it is very useful to revive the GRAYDLE alligators if any of the monsters that you steal gets removed from the field and the equip card goes to the graveyard. For the extra deck, it's pretty much the exact same thing except with better Link monsters. We'll never make them anyway. So yeah, let's have a look at the replays. Okay, let's have a look at our first game. We're going first, and our game plan going first is extremely simple. We have one thing to do and one thing only. It is to, you guessed it, set one and enter. We're not even going to set the quick play spell because it doesn't really do a whole lot, and you can only use it during the battle phase anyway, and chances are your opponent will get rid of it during the main phase, so might as well just keep it in hand and use it during our own battle phase. Our opponent is playing Time Thieves, and they will be having a pretty hard time getting rid of our monster using only their Time Thief cards, because they don't really have an in-archetype monster removal for a set monster, so they will have to attack over it. So what we can do is just steal whatever they have on field, which is pretty funny. They're gonna make Abyss Dweller, and they don't activate the effect first, which is pretty funny. That means we can still steal it. They should have used the Dweller effect. They're gonna use Time Thief Redoer, but it's fine, we can just tribute over it with our Kaiju. And there's a little funny interaction that you'll be able to see later, but yeah, we will just attack and yeah, they'll scoop. Okay, in our second game, we are going first once again, and we're facing the exact same opponent. We are in King of Games, and because the KC Cup is just starting, there's just nobody in ranked. So we just keep facing against the same person. Yeah, he's playing Time Thieves as per usual. We're also going first with the exact same board as we did last time. This time they're not gonna make Abyss Dweller, but as you could see in the last game, they don't really have a good way to get rid of the set monster that we have. And they're just gonna make a Redoer and then summon another Xyz. they're not even gonna make Abyss Duel. They should, you know, they faced against us once already. They should have known. We're gonna steal a redo, and what's funny is that we can use the effect. We can shoot it over the other Time Thief, and then we actually stole one of the spells. We stole Book of Moon with the redoer, and so we can chain the quick effect to draw a free card. And then Book of Eclipse can stop the attack, but that also destroys all of our equip spells, and just lets our monster permanently be on our field, which is pretty funny. We're gonna attack and just win, I guess. Okay, in our third and final game, we are in the Casey Cup because I'm tired of seeing the exact same people in King of Games when nobody is playing ranked and everyone's playing in the Casey Cup. But that also has a slight side effect because it's just started, the Casey Cup has just started, so we're in a pretty low level, which means people aren't exactly that good at playing the decks that they are playing. Our opponent's playing Dragon, or, you know, Boro Link, but they're not particularly good at the deck. As you can see, they end on, like, nothing. You can steal their, Red Ice Black Meteor and attack over the set monster. I mean, they still have Levianeer, which is pretty good, but, they don't actually have enough for lethal. They can destroy our GRAYDLE, which, doesn't give them back the monster, it just pops the monster that it's equipped to. And Levianeer can't attack the turn it's summoned, so it will just sit there, I guess. And then we're gonna use GRAYDLE Slime Jr., swarm our field with a whole bunch of GRAYDLEs, steal everything our opponent has, and just attack them for lethal. Even something like a Boro Load Riot Dragon won't do anything against our deck because we just don't go into our extra deck. A good game, I guess?